Okay, so like I said, today is Thursday, our last class of the week, and today we are working with conversions involving base 16. So now we had talked about base 16 in our first class, and we had kind of mentioned it when we started off this week and talking about number patterns and how number patterns are related to bases. And we have worked with decimal bases, decimal numbers, binary numbers, and now today we want to work with hexadecimal numbers. And hexadecimal is the correct name for base 16 numbers, right? So this is basically what we have accomplished and will accomplish by the end of the class today. Now, as I had mentioned, base 16 has 16 different symbols that are used. You have 10 numbers, and the other 6 symbols are completed with the first 6 letters of the alphabet. So in this system, you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, and F. And you have to write them in capital letters. You cannot write a small a small b, a small d, or a small f, right? You have to have capital letters. So now if you guys looked at the worksheet, you would have a number like B, B5FE. And that is a number in base 16, right? And even though it uses letters, these letters represent a number. And this is important for what we are going to be doing today. So if you see the letter A in a base 16 number, that letter represents the number 10. If you see a letter F in a base 16 number, that F represents 15. Right? And A, B, C, D, E, and F, each of those represent a specific number. All right? So, looking at the powers, now just by looking at these powers, we can already tell that our base 16 numbers are really big numbers. All right? So your answers for the worksheet should be big numbers in the thousands. Alright, so just like how we had a place value chart for base 10, and just like how we had a place value chart for base 2, we have a place value chart for base 16. So 16 to the power of 0 is 1, 16 to the power of 1 is 16, 16 to the power of 2 is 256, 16 to the power of 3 is 4096, 16 to the power of 4 is 65,536, and 16 to the power of 5 is 1,048,576. So if I'm looking at those numbers and I have to convert a base 16 number to a base 10 number, I'm gonna have really big numbers just by looking at those powers that I'm gonna be using. All right? So let's see. And to summarize what I just said, then we have 16 different values. So we have 10 numbers and 6 letters, and if you count all of them, you're supposed to have 16 different symbols. All right? So we can convert base 16 to base 10, and we can also convert base 10 to base 16. But because of time and because of distance learning, we can't cover everything that we want to cover. So we are going to cover the important one that we want to know about, which is how to change a base 16 number to a base 10 number, because that is the assignment that I gave to you guys. If you had a base 10 number and you want to change it to a base 16, we would do just like how we did the base 2, and we would divide by 16 over and over and over and over until we can't divide anymore. Right? That is how the base 10 to base 16 would work. But the base 16 to the base 10, what we are doing today is a little bit more, requires a little bit more practice and a little bit more calculation. So that is the one that we want to concentrate on today. All right? So in your worksheet, You have a total of, I think it's 9 questions if I'm not mistaken in your worksheet. This is the first. How many questions?
8.
Okay. Okay, it was close. It was 8 questions then. So, where did I write it? This is the first question. Go ahead and write this in your notebooks. 2D 7E base 16, and please remember to write the small little 16 because that is the base that we are working with. Okay, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 questions. So this is the first one. Now you guys, you have to, we are going to be solving the problems together, but you have to be checking my multiplication and my addition. I was doing this PowerPoint really late last night, so if my addition or my multiplication is wrong, I was half awake and half asleep when I was doing this. Alright, so be ready, check if the multiplication that I have there is correct, and check if the addition is correct as well. So now let's see. 2D 7E base 16, and I want to change this to a base 10. So I want to change this to a number that I can understand and a number that I can use. Alright, now how do we go about and do that? So what I have here, for all of the problems, I have the place value chart and I have the working at the bottom. What I want to see from you is the working that I have at the bottom. Alright, you do not have to be including the place value chart that I have at the top, but I did it so that it's easier for all of you to understand and to see how it is that I got that answer. Alright, so I'm gonna put the question 2D 7E into this place value chart, and we always start from behind the last number or the last letter of the number, and that is how we start putting it in our place value chart. So I'm going to put the E first, then the 7, then the D, then the 2, and I have inserted the number that is given to me in base 16. Now, I will be multiplying the 2 with the number at the top, the D with the number at the top, the 7 with the number at the top, and the E with the number at the top. So E is going to be times 1, 7 is going to be times 16, D is going to be times 256, and 2 is going to be times 4096. But if I go back to one of the slides that I had shown before, the number D and the letter E represent a number. So let me go back to that slide. In this one right here, each letter represents a number. A is 10, B is 11, C is 12, D is 13, E is 14, F is 15. So when I come to my question, I know that D is 13 and I know that E is 14. So when I come to solve my problem here, I'm going to have 2 times the number at the top, 13 times the number at the top, 7 times the number at the top, and 14 times the number at the top. And that is how I'm going to be expanding the number. Did everybody understand what I explained right now? Does anybody have any questions? Was it clear?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So now, once I have that first line at the top, then everything else should be easier, right? And if you have your calculators, then it should be even easier for you to be able to solve. Okay, so the first one that they ask you to do is 2 times 4096. 2 times 4096. That should give you 8,192. That is what I write in the following step. 13 times 256, that gives me 3,328. 7 times 16 gives me 112. And 14 times 1 gives me 14. And I have multiplied everything in the brackets. Alright? Now I add all of those numbers. 8192 plus 3328 plus 112 plus 14 should give you 11,646. If you have already done the problem, you're just checking your work, right? If you have not done the problem, then you have to write the working that I have at the bottom. And don't worry if you don't finish writing right now, because the PowerPoint is in Google Classroom, so you can always go back later today and finish writing it. Okay?
Miss, you want to give another example?
Of course. I'm gonna give another example.
Okay, teacher.
Yes. No, you need to show your working. So, for example, you could in the worksheet that we did yesterday, you could put 11011 is equal to 64, but I still want to see your working. How did you get that answer? And your working for the worksheet yesterday is just gonna be like 64 plus 2 plus 8 plus 2. That is your working. For this worksheet, you can write 2D7E is equal to 11,646, but I still want to see the working that I am showing you guys at the bottom of the table. So that is what I expect to see when you guys send me your work. Does that answer your question, Kevin? Okay, good. So now you guys, yesterday you had 15 questions. You are to show the question, the answer, you're working. But I want you guys to circle your answers or to highlight it. If you have highlighter, highlight it. And the same thing with today. You are showing the question, you're working, and your answer. And I want you guys to either circle your answer, underline your answer, or highlight your answer. Right? Because looking at a lot of numbers through the screen is sometimes a little bit difficult to check, especially if you're somebody that doesn't like setting up your work neat, and that is fine, right? You're doing math, you can scribble around, there's no problem in doing that, but once I know where your answer is, that's gonna be fine with me. So can I move on to the following question?
Yes, miss.
Okay. So this is question number 2, 514E. 514E. Would you guys prefer for me to show the working, like me writing it instead of just showing in the slide? Would that help you guys, me showing it step by step? Okay. So give me 1 second for me to connect this device. I'm gonna stop presenting here and I'm gonna share screen here. Start sharing right now. Okay, so what was the first question? Are you guys seeing it well? It froze, right? The next on my screen. Okay, now yes? Okay, good. So, what is the first question? I mean, what is this second question? What was question number 2 that we talked about right now? The one that I showed. 1, 4e base 16, right? Yes? Good. So the first thing that we want to do is that we want to expand. So I am just going to be writing the problem like this, and I'm going to leave a space so that we can see what is going to come here in these blank spaces. Alright? So 514e, I need to multiply the 5 by something, the 1 by something, the 4 by something, and the e by something. But before I do that, I want to get rid of all of the letters first, right? So what number does the e represent? Who remembers what number the e stands for? Very good. So I am going to change the e, and I am going to write a 14 instead. Right? Because the E stands for a 14. And now I need to fill in my blank spaces, right? Now, if we were to go back to the place value chart that I had shown, then we would see that the first one, the 14, would be times 1. The 4 would be times 16. The 1 would be times 256. And the 5 would be by 4096. Those are the numbers that we are using. Alright? Now, just like how you have to memorize 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128 for base 2, then these are the numbers for base 16. 1, 16, 256, 4096. Those are the numbers that we are using, right? So, for this worksheet, these are the 4 numbers that we are using. So, for all of them, I have to remember 1, 16, 256, 4096 because these are the numbers that I am using, right? Good. So, let's move on. What is 5 times 4096? 5 times 4096. Oh, let's see. Put it in the chat, guys, so that I can see your number because I think it's the internet at school here. I hear some of you are like far, far away. Let's see in the chat. 5 times 4096. 20,480. 20,480. Okay, good. Very good. Thank you to those of you that put your answers in the chat. 1 times 256, I can do that. 1 times anything gives me the same thing, right? So that gives me 256. 4 times 16. 4 times 16. 4 times 6 is 24, and 4 times 1 gives me 4, and 2, 64. 64. And 14 times 1 gives you 14. So we're going to do the waterfall, and we did the waterfall yesterday, right? This is how it's called. All of you are going to add, you're going to put your number in the chat, and you're going to hold it until I count to 3. So when I say, guys, we're doing the waterfall, you know what we're doing, right? Type your answer, hold it. When I count to 3, everybody sends it together. All right, so I'm going to give you some time. Add those numbers. Add those numbers, and I'm going to give you a few more seconds. Let me open the chat. Okay, you guys ready? Few more seconds? Okay, few more seconds. Oh, somebody's not following instructions. I see an answer in the chat. Hold your answer, right? Hold your answers. Okay. At the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Send your answers. Okay. Did you guys need a little bit more time to add that? Because I'm seeing some answers coming in late. Okay. Okay. Well, you guys have the correct answer. The answer is 20814 base 10. Remember the base 10, right? When you're writing it down.
Yes.
Yes.
I have my word correct, but I have different wording.
That's not a problem. That's fine. I did see her working. There are different ways of solving the same thing, but I found this one a little bit more easier to teach and for you guys to understand. But if you know a different way of doing it and that works for you, I don't have a problem with that. You can go right ahead and do that. If we would have been face to face, then I would have asked you guys to show me how you guys do it, right? Because in primary school, everybody learns it a different way. But right now, I can't do that with you guys because you are there and I can't have you guys sharing the screen and showing me you're working, right? But it's fine, Kami. You can go ahead and still send your work like that. I saw it and it's still correct, so don't worry about that, okay? Okay guys, so it's 8:26 and we want to go a little bit faster. So I am gonna go back to the PowerPoint. Did everybody understand with this example, or would you guys like me to do another example like this? Another. Let's do one more like this, piece by piece, and then we're gonna go back to the PowerPoint, right? So question number 3 is EA 5 2. This is question number 3 from the worksheet, right? EA 52 base 16. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna have E times something plus A times something plus 5 times something plus 2 times something. Right? but I want to change my letters to numbers. So what does the E stand for?
40.
And what does the A stand for? Very good. So I am changing those ones to 14 and 10. Now I want to put my numbers, right? So I'm going to start from the last one. 1, 16, 256, and 1496. Yes, are those numbers correct? Very good, okay. Now I want to multiply. So 14 times 4096. This is why I asked you guys for a little calculator. If you have your phones, use your phones. You have a laptop, put calculator on your laptop or on Google and it should give you a calculator, right? 14 times 4096. 57,344. Like that, Ryan? Anybody else got that same answer? Oh, I see it in the chat. I see it in the chat. Very good. Very good. Plus 10 times 256.
20,560.
Woo! No, 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 no. You said 20,516. 2,560. Like that. 5 times 16. 80. 2 times 1. Good. Now the addition part. And we're doing the waterfall. So add it, type it, and then when I count, you're going to send it. Alright? I'm going to give you 1 minute maybe to do that. Okay, at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the answer should be 5, 9, 9, 8, 6. Base 10. Okay. Anybody has any questions?
Yes, miss. But the number is a comma.
For this one, yes, you can put a comma because we are talking about base 10. So you can go ahead and put a comma. But if you don't put a comma, it's still correct. Right? Because it is base 10, we can put commas in the answer. Right? But you don't have to. Okay. So, did everybody understand how we do this? Can I go back to the PowerPoint? Very good. Okay. So let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, so we have done question number 3 right, and we got that answer. Then question number 4, and I am going, okay, question number 4, you guys are going to be writing as I go along explaining, right, because I want to cover all of the questions before time is up, and it's 8:34 right now, so we have about 10 minutes to do the rest of the questions. So this is question number 4. B7, E5, base 16. And I want to change this question to base 10. So I am going to be writing B times the first number, 7 times 256, E times 16, and 5 times 1. But I do recall that B is 11, so I'm going to have 11 times 4096. I'm going to have 7 times 256. E means 14, so I'm going to have 14 times 16. And then I'm going to have 5 times 1. I use my calculator, or I can do this manually. 11 times 4096. That gives me 45,056. 7 times 256 gives me 1,792. 14 times 16 gives me 224, and 5 times 1 gives me 5. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add all these 4 numbers, and my answer should be 47,077 base 10. So that was for this question. Lots of big numbers, right? We have to be careful when we're using all of these big numbers. So this is for question number 4. Moving on to question number 5. And I'm just going to explain these briefly, guys. If you want to go back and copy the working, like I said, the PowerPoint is in Google Classroom, right? So number 5 is BE57. And I want to change BE 5F 5F to base 16. This number has 3 letters, so there are 3 letters that I have changed to numbers. The B stands for an 11, the E stands for a 14. You can't hear me well?
Almost.
Have to talk louder. Okay, so as I was saying, the B stands for an 11, the E stands for a 14, and the F stands for 15. Alright, so in this case, I'm gonna do 11 times 4096, 14 times 256, 5 times 16, and 15 times 1. 11 times 4096 gives me 45,056. 14 times 256 gives me 3,584. 5 times 16 gives me 80, and 15 times 1 gives me 15. And when I add those four numbers, I get 48,735. Yes? Good. Let's move on to the other one. 535A base 16, and I want to change that to a base 10. So I'm gonna do 5 times 4096, 3 times 256, 5 times 16, A times 1, but A stands for a 10, so I'm gonna have 10 times 1. 5 times 4096 gives me 20,480. 3 times 256 gives me 768. 5 times 16 gives me 80. And 10 times 1 gives me 10. And when I add these four numbers, I get 21,338.
Miss M, A stands for 10.
Yes, A stands for 10. Right? Because remember the last number is 9, and then after 9 we go to A. So then that's A is 10. Right? BA 5A. BA 5A base 16, and I want to change this to a base 10. So then now 11 times 4096 because B is 11. 10 times 256 because A is 10. 5 times 16. And 10 times 1 because A is 10. 45,056 plus 2,000, 11 times 4,096 gives me 45,056. 10 times 256 gives me 2,560. 5 times 16 gives me 80, and 10 times 1 gives me 10. When I add these four numbers, I get 47,406. Okay, and then the last one, 56B8. 56B8 base 16. 5 times 4,096, 6 times 250, 11 because B is 11 times 16, and 8 times 1. 5 times 4,096 gives me 20,480. 6 times 256 gives me 1,536. 11 times 16 gives me 176, and 8 times 1 gives me 8. And when I add those four numbers, I get 22,200 for the final answer. Now this was the worksheet, guys, for today, the worksheet that we had. So you guys got 8 questions, and like I mentioned, if you guys did not finish copying all of the 8 questions working, then you guys can always go back to Google Classroom, and I will show you where it is posted right now. All right, so before we finish off, we have 3 more minutes. I have one question for you guys, and this is gonna close off our week this week, and we're gonna do this using the waterfall, right? So I'm gonna show the question, I'm gonna read the question, and I'm gonna explain the question. Then you guys are gonna type your answer in the chat, and when I say send it, you guys are gonna send it. All right, and everybody's gonna send their answer at the same time. And after we do that, then we are finished for today. All right, so before I go ahead and do that, I will show you guys the where I have posted it in Google Classroom. Not first form. You go to classwork, and then you go to this week, that is number patterns in God's creation. And right here where it says week 3 PowerPoint, this is where you will find the PowerPoint that I am using this week. And then you scroll way to the bottom for today's lesson, and it will be there, all of the questions and all of the working. All right, so the PowerPoint is there. You can go back and you can look at the PowerPoint if you need to do that. All right, so looking at the question, this is the question for today. How did you grow as a mathematician this week? So I want you guys to type something, one thing in the chat that you learned this week that you did not know before. One thing. It could be something that I taught about decimal, binary, or hexadecimal. It could be one of those things. It could be about the deep hope that I talk about at the beginning of the week, the creation, the fall, the redemption, the biblical integration. It could be about anything that I had mentioned to you guys this week. That was something, oh, you are not following instructions. I said, type your answers and hold your answers. Everybody's gonna send their answers at the same time. So, how did you grow as a mathematician this week? One thing that was new to you that you learned this week. Alright? And this week we only talked about number bases. We talked about number patterns in God's creation. So one thing that you guys learned this week that was new to you, that you did not know before. I'm gonna give you guys 1 minute, less than a minute, and then we can go ahead. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, send your answers. The chat is not for you guys to be playing around. I said it on the first day that we had class. Okay, good. So let's see. Alan, Krista, Kevin, Ryan, Loriane, Jorn, Ernest, Marielle, Society, Edwin, Yuri, Ryan, Folger, Wright, Emerson, Daisy, Kami, Ryan, Victorine, Lizette, Pascual, Romir. Okay,